Did The Rock hint at something much bigger to come with the Bloodline story on this week's WWE SmackDown? So, I did a video after SmackDown. We were reviewing the segment involving The Rock and the Bloodline, the triumphant return of The Rock and Roman Reigns to WWE television after the WrestleMania 40 kickoff event in Las Vegas. They're in Salt Lake City. The Rock cuts his promo, comes out with the 1998 vest, playing up the 98 Rock, the 2003 Rock, everything combined, right? Hollywood Rock, all sorts of aspects of heel Rock. But I will tell you right now that there is something that I think I missed when looking at this for the first time. Now that I've gone back and watched it and seen some people bringing this up on social media, and so once I saw that, I'm like, wait a second, let me go back and give this a look. I think there is a clear hint from The Rock inside of this promo that he cut on SmackDown that tells us that The Rock seems to be planning something much bigger than just a tag team match, perhaps involving Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. Something bigger than just being a part of the WrestleMania 40 Night 2 main event of Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. Will The Rock determine the outcome of that match? Well, in the previous video, I said that The Rock seemed to be certainly making it very clear with the line that he said of he's going to make sure that Cody walks out a loser at WrestleMania 40. However, when you go back and see it, he didn't exactly say that. He said, I'm going to make sure you walk out a loser. And while he had been referencing Cody previously, there was something that I am not afraid to tell you that I missed in this whole deal. And that is this. As The Rock was saying that you will walk out of WrestleMania a loser, as he said it, you see here on the screen, who was he looking at and who was he pointing to when he said that exact line of you will walk out of WrestleMania 40 a loser? He was looking at the tribal chief himself, the head of the table, Roman Reigns, who just happened to be looking in the opposite direction. Heyman's looking at Rock, Solo's looking at Rock. Jimmy, I think, you can kind of see him behind Roman Reigns here in this shot. Jimmy's sort of looking the other way too. But Roman is not looking at The Rock in any way, shape, or form. He has no idea that The Rock is pointing at him right now. And that is the exact line that The Rock is delivering as he's saying this in this promo. Now, you see Heyman's face here. Of course, it's a still shot, right? So you can't see everything that came before it and after it. So I did kind of try to study that a little bit. But you can at least see from this shot, there looks like there's a little bit of hesitation on Heyman's part, as though he's a little bit confused, right? So if we read into that and we see right here that The Rock's finger is clearly pointing at Roman Reigns as he's saying this line, that is something that I missed the first time around, and I did not even realize that that was what they were trying to perhaps tell us with this promo from The Rock. So that is part one of this equation, okay? So everything that The Rock said, he had been referencing Cody, he had been talking about the crybabies, the usual stuff, right, that he had been bringing up. But, when you really think about it, we said the one part of this, the logic doesn't make sense with The Rock saying, hey, you haven't earned your way back to this spot. And, of course, we're all like, well, wait a second, Cody just won the Royal Rumble for the second straight year. Of course he earned this spot to get back to, that's what the Royal Rumble means, right? You win the match, you earn a world title shot. Of course Cody had earned this spot. But maybe that lack of logic is just one of those things that sort of The Rock's talking that up as though to plant that in Roman Reigns' mind that Cody has not earned this, which again brings The Rock and Roman Reigns closer together because they seem to agree on this, right? Reigns maybe agrees with this whole idea that Cody hasn't earned this rematch. Even though he won the Rumble, he's not earned the shot at the Tribal Chief for a second time. But now we take it a step further because this is something else. And hey, this is why I know social media sometimes, I know it's not always a fun place to be with all just lots of stuff, argued and bantered about. But things like this I find very intriguing. And I love when people bring this kind of stuff up because these are the little details that I've always enjoyed, right? If you're going to tell me a story, I want the little details to all of a sudden when you get to sort of the climax of the story, you get to the final chapter of the story, right? All this story theme we're using with Cody and everything. I want everything to make sense to where I can look back and say, oh man, they told us right there that that's what they were doing. They had the little red herring. They had that hint right there back in chapter whatever, right? I've always enjoyed that kind of stuff. So if you think that just the pointing happened to just be a coincidence, right? Let's just say it's a coincidence that Rock just happens to be pointing in the direction of Roman Reigns. Maybe not intentionally, it just happened to be that way. Although you can tell he kind of moved his body to do this purposefully if you go back and watch it. The lasting visual on this episode of SmackDown at the very end of the show was The Rock standing with the Bloodline, holding up his hand, right? As the Bloodline does, throwing up the ones and all this. Well, I went back and watched it, and again, remember, I'm reacting like right after this segment. So I watched it one time. I'm like, okay, I'm going to share my thoughts on what I thought then. But now my thoughts have changed because going back and watching this and seeing some people bring this up, I'm like, wait a second. Are people just like, are they faking the photos here? What's going on? We got some AI added to the photos. What's happening? But no, you go back and watch it. And this was the visual at the end of the episode. The Rock is standing with the Bloodline. They've all got the ones up. But what do you see here with The Rock? Is that a 1? Or is that an L for a loser? As he just pointed at the man who he said was going to walk out of WrestleMania 40 as a loser. Coincidence? Or perfectly detailed plan from the Brahma Bull, the great one, The Rock? I mean, is it just a coincidence, right? He doesn't have the clothes. He's got the full-on one. He's got the loser sign, but he also, someone else pointed this out. Cody did something similar. I don't, maybe some of you guys can give me your thoughts on this if you know exactly what they're saying, but I did see some people pointing out, hey, Cody did this exact same thing, maybe after the Rumble or whatever, pointing at Roman, something like that. That part I don't remember. I'm just going to be honest. Like I didn't go into the detail on that, but is this sort of a message from The Rock to Cody Rhodes or something like that? Is there something that they're adding in here? It's interesting. And these are the kind of things, like I said, at face value, you take the promo for what it was. Hey, heel Rock's back. He's trashing the people. He's talking about trailer park trash, all this other stuff. But if you go a little deeper, does all this tie together into The Rock and Cody sort of like, now, look, I still don't know if this was the original plan they had in mind, right? They may feel like, hey, this is the way we tie it all together back to The Rock and getting the spot from Cody and all this other stuff, maybe. But I'm not as worried about that part as I am just, hey, if they're adding in these little details now, to kind of hinting it, this is the direction they're going, which to me would mean, all right, The Rock is going to turn on Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Maybe The Rock becomes the new head of the Bloodline. It's Rock versus Reigns at WrestleMania 41 for the true head of the table. All those scenarios we've already talked about, but maybe this is how it's playing out. It's interesting. Like, I am intrigued. I will say that. I'm very intrigued now after going back and seeing these two visuals and rewatching this segment. Maybe there was more to it than we thought on the first watch, which I think is, but sometimes, hey, it's like you sort of just take a promo for what it is. But when you really go back into it, like, and you think about what they're doing with this story, all the little tiny things they've added into the story, Triple H very detailed. We know when it comes to the storylines, especially these big ones like this, and we know there are people helping out on the Rock side now, creatively, whether it's Brian Gewirtz. There are a lot of different people kind of having their hand in this storyline, it seems. So are these the tiny details that are going to add up to The Rock turning on Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40? Maybe we all look back and say, hey, this was a whole bunch of nothing. This was The Rock maybe trying to pull one over on us, knowing that we were going to find these little details. And he's saying, I got you, and then he cost Cody or something. Then we do this another year. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Cody's in a great spot to finish the story this year. But perhaps we look back on these little details and realize that they were trying to tell us something all along, that perhaps The Rock is playing Roman Reigns, and Roman, as I said in the previous video, kind of feels like a sidebar right now. He sort of feels like a little bit of an afterthought. If you really think about it, is that intentional from The Rock? Are there other things at play here? What are the other motivations when it comes to everyone involved in this story? We will find out soon enough. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you go back and rewatch this, which I would highly suggest you do you see the same things? Is this a coincidence? Are we making too much of it? Let me know what you think. Hit that subscribe button too. New channel here. Just enjoy talking wrestling with you guys. Always love the feedback. So let me know what you think about The Rock and the mystery point on this week's SmackDown.